The Roman soldier stuck him in the side. Water and blood came out. I don't know about you. I've never seen a dead man bleed.
Okay.
If I walk into a funeral home right now and shoot the man that's laying in the casket, I doubt if he bleeds. It's against the laws of nature. So water and blood came out of Jesus. So meaning that whoever was on the cross, they didn't die. And if you pay attention to the timeline of the individual on the cross, it was only a 12-hour period. If you research, you can Google this. People at home, you can Google the torturous death of the cross. That was there. They didn't have electric chairs. They didn't do the hanging. They didn't do none of that. It was the cross because it was humiliating to the person they was trying to oppose capital punishment on.
Okay.
The time frame to make this successful was 24 hours to 72 hours, depending on the person. And what happened was the fluids in your body began to travel down and crush, and slowly your breathing and crush your lungs to where you can't breathe. 12 hours is not enough to complete this process.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was 24 to 72 hours, and it's a slow, tragic, humiliating death for the people to see.
Okay, tell us something that a lot of people may not really know about Isa alayhi salam, or things that might be important that have been left out in discussions about it.
Again, like I said, in order to fully understand the history of Jesus, you got to understand he was an Israelite. So the rituals that came along with that, you can't look at it from a 2015 perspective. He prayed. He kneeled down, he prayed. He did exactly what it said in Nehemiah 8, verse 4 through 6. He kneeled down, he prayed. It wasn't, I don't know where they get the style of prayer that they have now. Jesus, if you look at the Bible, Jesus never built a church. Christian never came out of his mouth. Church never came out of his mouth. It was the rituals of the laws of Moses, which he was an Israelite.
So is he a son of God? Is he the son of God?
Oh man. Now, let's say this. 81 times in the New Testament, I actually went through a counting.
Okay.
81 times in the New Testament, Jesus referred to himself as being the Son of Man. 24 in Matthew alone.
Okay.
Now, in the earlier text, even if you go to the older King James Version, it's not in there. He never referred to himself as the Son of God, but when he turned to ask the disciples, he said, "Who do the people say I am?" Some say you're Elijah. Some even think that you're the prophet. He turned Peter, "Who do people say that I am?" Some say that you're the Son of God. He said, "Don't tell nobody else that."
So you trying to keep a secret? You want to tell him to keep
It wasn't
it
the fact
low?
that he was trying to keep it a secret. It was a distorted view of him. He said, I'm not that. But now, the earlier translations, again, Vulgates, the Scornfields, the Wyclifs, the Tinsdale, they emphasize, don't tell nobody else that. It's not the truth. But the new translation kind of downplay, like, don't tell nobody else that. Keep that to yourself.
Okay.
That's not the reality. So was Jesus Son of God? No, that didn't come into the council of Nicaea when they referred to him as the Son of God.
So I just want to make sure this is clear one more time. If he died on the cross, and he did die for people's sins, did he die for all mankind's sins?
Let's just say for the sake of
If he
argument.
did, let's just say for the sake
Sake
of
of
that.
argument, according to what he said out of his own mouth as far as Bible, Matthew 15:24, I was only sent to the lost sheep of Israel,
Alhamdulillah.
not to mankind. So now, we have to explore the Council of Nicaea, because the Council of Nicaea under Emperor Constantine, again, we're still talking about Romans. It was a Roman government still. The religion of the Council of Nicaea, or it's not the council, but the religion at that time for Emperor Constantine was sun worship. So now sun worship was kind of losing, and Christianity was on the rise. So now Constantine was like, oh, damn, what am I going to do?
Did Constantine get baptized?
He did after the fact, but this is after the distorted views was already taking place. But this is the thing. Constantine called in 325 AD, he called 318 bishops
Okay.
to convene in his council. Out of the 318 bishops, it was 312 bishops who voted on Jesus is the Son of God. Let's take out the 100 and some books from the New Testament. Let's deify Jesus. Let's make him the Son of God. Let's just come up with this Trinity. Let's come up with Easter. Let's come up with Christmas. This was all based
So
on...
you saying those are not actual Christian holidays?
No, sir. This was all man-made holidays based on a vote. You're not going to find it anywhere in the Bible. Why? Because it's not in there.
So what you telling me is Constantine, he done put paganism and Christianity
He fused the two.
and mixed it.
He fused the two
And
to
consolidated.
keep control of the people. Yes, sir. But now, we also got to explore the fact of not only did he take out 100 books, but he put the books in there that really had nothing to do with Christ's true teachings. Case in point, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. A lot of people are under the misconception that these were the same people, the disciples, which in reality, it wasn't. These people took on the same names as the disciples. Even Luke in chapter 1 admitted to, I wasn't there. I wasn't an eyewitness. I'm only asking people. And these books was written 70 to 110 years later by people that wasn't even there. So let's put their books in here and let's deify Christ. Let's take out the other 100 that make him look like just a plain prophet. And let's put Paul teachers in there. And Paul.
Well, was Paul one of the disciples?
Let's
I'm saying he gets so much emphasis, so I want to make sure this is understood. They always talking about Paul said, Paul said, Paul said. Was he one of the disciples?
Let's go strictly Bible. Paul's first name was Saul. He was a Jew, right? So he was bashing Christians, and to the point he had this vision, this miraculous vision that Jesus said, "Why are you forsaking me?" That was it, according to the Bible. That was it. Nobody else.
So he wasn't no disciple.
Jesus never said, "You're my disciple." Jesus never said, "Go write some books." Jesus never said, "I'm the Son of God," because really that
Did
teaching...
he meet Jesus in person?
No. Okay. He never walked with him. He never sat at his feet. Okay. He never learned from him. He never none of that.
Okay.
Mind you, you had your group of Jews that wasn't even really messing with Christ like that. You only had Christ. The only ones that was really accepting to what Christ was talking about was the Essenes and some of the Sadducees.
Okay.
So we're talking about a whole different time frame where Paul came into play, and there was... he was a self-appointed disciple according to the Bible, because your vision that you had of Jesus was, why have you forsaken me? You didn't give him permission to do anything after that. Are you my disciple? Right after this miraculous vision, he ran into the synagogue saying Jesus was the Son of God. That's where this came from. Now, if you look at Paul's books in the Bible, they were letters to different groups of people. In Acts 15, Barnabas, we're going back to Barnabas, Christ's disciple, had an argument. They didn't say what it was over, but then they split paths. Because he was distorting the teachings of Christ. Everything was based on his opinion and not the actual teachings of Christ. If you look at even the four New Testaments, the first books, they different from what Paul was talking about.
Okay.
He pretty much sugar-coated, watered down the whole thing. He took away it really eradicated the laws of Moses if you look at it.
Okay.
You don't got to be circumcised. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. Like, well, who are you? You had no authority to even change God's law.
Yeah.
But now too, when Paul was doing these letters and doing these teachings, and he was in jail under the Roman government, so he was being controlled and manipulated by the Roman government, and his teachings came out the way his teaching, but it still worked out in Emperor Constantine's plans. Why his storyline was pushed over the actual teachings of Christ.
Okay. So, what's the main message you want to get them to understand about Prophet Isa alayhi salam?
We got to stick to the basics. We got to stick to the true teachings. We got to stick to what was written, what was not written, and we got to really pay attention to the word, because even in those four books, there's a message being sent, and there's the wrong message that people interpreted to their own vain desires to meet the benefits of today and now with the people.
Assalamu
Assalamu alaikum.